And please welcome Christopher Rausch. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome back. It's Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, your place for the raw and unscripted show with yours truly, Christopher Rausch, your no excuses coach. And here on this show, what we do is we create rock stars by getting you to eliminate your excuses, eliminate your tolerations in favor of being kick-ass unstoppable. Ladies and gentlemen, this is show number 262. 262 shows. We've been doing the show for 5 years, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm so excited to be here with you tonight, whether you're live on the video cast or you're listening to us on the audio podcast. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making this a top 10% rated podcast globally. That is such a huge honor and recognition for me because I love doing this. You may not know this, but I did a live radio show for 5 years called the Kick-Ass Radio Show. And if you want, you can actually check it out. It's on iTunes still to this day. I did it for 5 years. I interviewed a guest every single week. We had some amazing guests. We had actors and actresses and rock stars. We had a cornucopia of different people on there. And every week, those people shared 5 kick-ass tips of living an amazing life. So if you want to check that out, go Google and check out the Kick-Ass Radio Show. Let me know if you do. I'd love for you to get your feedback on it. That's where I cut my teeth on doing here at the Raw and Unscripted Show. So thank you guys for being here, whether you're live or on the replay. Thank you. And most importantly, feel free to ask questions during this particular broadcast because this is a solo broadcast. So it's just me and you tonight. I put the word out in social media last week and I said, hey, I'm doing a solo show. I'm trying to do those once a month. So if you dig the solo shows, thank you very much. People have requested those. So I put those in the calendar. But when I do a solo show, I seek out what it is that you guys have going on in your life, what I can do to serve you. And a lot of people came back and talked about relationships. So tonight's show is about relationships and communication, personal relationships, professional relationships. What I'm going to do is I have done plenty of seminars and done workshops on relationships and communication. For a while, I was a relationship coach rather than being a mindset coach. So I've got a ton of material. So what tonight's purpose is to give you an overview of what that is, what materials we have in that workshop. And if you find something in particular that you are attracted to, that you really like, and you want to know more about it, send me a DM, send me an email at christopher@christopherrausch.com, RAUSCH. You can signal via social media. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn. If you just go in and you Google hashtag no excuses coach, you'll find me everywhere. And then let me know what it is that you like. And what I'll do is my next solo show is I will go deeper on that. It's something that I just actually presented last night to my group accountability coaching program, which I put the links here for you to check out. It's in the links for the show. It's in the links for the podcast. Check it out. It's a group accountability coaching program. It's something I created as an affordable option for people who couldn't afford to work with me one-on-one. And what we do is we meet twice a month. We do it over Zoom. You actually have a private Facebook group and community where everybody supports one another. You can ask questions. And then on the Zoom meeting, we talk about accountability, what it is that you completed in the last 2 weeks since our previous meeting, what your wins were, what your challenges were, what questions you have for me or for the group. It's an amazing group. So I put the links in there. Check it out. You know, it's an awesome opportunity. People ask me how I'm so successful. And one of the key reasons is I have my coach holding me accountable. I have my mentors holding me accountable. I have people in my life who are brighter and smarter than me that make me show up and deliver the promises that I say that I'm going to keep to myself. And ladies and gentlemen, just think about this before I get on with the show. If you kept all the promises you made to yourself, where would you be today? Where would you be? Right? So I help you keep your promises. That's what the No Excuses Coach does. So feel free to check it out. It is in there. We got my brother Jock in the house. What's up, Jock? He says, what's up, brother? Appreciate you being here. We got Ted Legal in the house. What's up, Ted? I sent you a message. He said it's a great program. Ted's been in the group accountability coaching program. He's coming back. Thank you, Ted. I want to know how you're doing, how you're healing. We got Nancy Nance in the house. She says the group coaching is exceptional. I recommend it 1,000%. Thank you, my dear. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate everybody in the group. It's a phenomenal group of people. And we have a great time and everybody's leveling up. So it's amazing what can happen in a short amount of time when you get around the right people. So thank you guys for being here and thank you guys for sharing that. I appreciate you. And actually, like I said before, if you're just joining us, tonight's conversation is about what I presented in the group accountability coaching program last night, because who does not have relationships in their life? Everybody. Who doesn't have personal and professional relationships in our life? Everybody. Who has challenges with the relationships going on right now? A lot of people, because that was the overwhelming response. I've got about 35 responses on various social media platforms that I put it out there and said, hey, what do you guys want me to talk about? Chris, I'm having problems dealing with my spouse. Chris, I'm having problems dealing with my coworker. Chris, I'm having problems with dealing with my clients. So tonight we're going to be talking about what it is that you can do in your particular life in order to have those kick-ass relationships. And actually people sent me questions. So we're going to be talking about those questions. So I think what I'm going to do, because this is raw and unscripted, is feel free to ask me any questions in the chat, and I'm happy to answer those as we go along. Thank you guys all for being here. Nancy says here, she goes, I learned today that the most relationship was with myself. That the most important relationship was with myself. 100%, 1,000%. Ladies and gentlemen, let's just start off right there. That's a great kicking off point, Nancy. So many times we're worried about everybody else, right? Raise your hand if you're a people pleaser out there. Yeah, everybody's raising their hand. For you guys listening on the podcast, I'm raising my hand too. I was an excellent people pleaser, but guess what I did it at the jeopardy of? Guess what the consequence of me being an amazing people person was? I was drained. I got to the point, seriously, 2 times in my life, I burned out my adrenal glands. Do not do this. Do not do this. This is not fun. I wound up waking up one day feeling like I got thrown off a 37-story building. My bones ached, my body ached. I had no energy. I thought, what in the fuck happened to me? Do I have the flu? What's going on? It continued for a couple of weeks. I didn't have a cold. I didn't have anything else. I went to my doctor and they ran some tests and they came back and they said, your adrenals are shot. And I said, okay, great. What do I take? What do I do to build them back up? I need to keep going. And they said, Chris, you need to fucking rest. You need to rest, my friend. They're like, you cannot get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and go to bed at midnight and go nonstop every single day. You cannot continue to do that. But why was I doing that? Because I was successful. And why was I successful? Because I learned how to be the best possible people pleaser to everybody. What does Nancy need? What does Jock need? What does Walt need? What does Tara need? What do these people need in my life? I will be that person for you. And I was highly successful at it. And because of the financial rewards, but at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, when you go to bed so exhausted, you can't even think straight, and you're not taking care of yourself, you're not doing things for yourself, that is where your relationships are going to suffer, because you can only do that for so long. And guess what? For you guys that are visual out there, because we're going to be talking about visual, I think about spinning plates, right? We've all seen the guy on stage keeping the plate spinning, and what happens? One little trip, one little mess up, one little plate starts to fall, and then you're looking at the plate that's about to fall. Then you're looking at the plate that's about to fall. Then they all fall and they all crash. And guess what? What's wrong with Chris? Why isn't he performing at the level he used to be? And I can tell you guys, it's not a fucking great feeling when you've been known for being that exceptional person, and then all of a sudden you're not able to keep that up anymore. And then people start talking shit behind your back and people start saying crap. And then you start feeling really bad about yourself. And that's where you have to sit there and say, stop. So if you're at that point in your life where you're frustrated, you're overworked, you're overwhelmed, you are feeling like you're at your wit's end, you need to say, stop it. You need to tell yourself, no, I can't do this anymore, because your relationships will suffer. You will not be the greatest version of yourself. And guess what? When you vibrate at a high frequency with yourself, and I know that you guys out there can attest to this. I know Nancy can speak to this as well. When you're operating in that high frequency and you're taking care of yourself and you're loving yourself, and ladies and gentlemen, for fucking sake, it's not being selfish. And if people are in your life that say, you're being selfish, you used to do this for me, you used to do that for me. Yeah, that was a different version of me, ladies and gentlemen. And now I'm going to choose to take care of myself. I'm choosing to pour into myself, and I'm going to choose to surround myself with the people who are going to be there with me when I fall down. And they're going to help me pick me up. They're not going to sit there and say, well, you used to do this and you used to do this, and now you don't do it anymore, so I don't like you. I'm paraphrasing, but ladies and gentlemen, it really is a critical component. So Nancy, I'm glad you kicked us off with that, because it is so important. So the 5 things, right? And you heard me talk about this again, but I'm going to beat it into your brain, because I still talk to people this day and I'm like, how's your hydration? Yeah, Chris, I know I should do better at it. I drink a couple of glasses of water every day. Okay. What else do you drink? I drink soda. I drink tea. I drink coffee, whatever it is. I drink sports drinks. I have Red Bulls. Ladies and gentlemen, you're half your body weight in ounces of water you need to be drinking every day. When you drink water, your body's like 75% water. When you drink water, guess what? Your brain feels better. Your body feels better. Your skin looks better. You sleep better. You think clearer. When you think clearer, you don't run to your short-term gratifications. You don't try to escape your life because you feel like crap. And trust me, I raised both hands. I was that guy. I would go to drink and I would go to smoke and I would do anything to escape my brain for a few hours, because I was overwhelmed and I was not taking care of myself. And guess what? My personal relationship started to suffer. My professional relationship started to suffer. I started being burned out. And guess what? That did not lead me to anywhere. So the 5 things: hydration, nutrition, sleep, exercise, and vitamin D, right? They don't cost you anything. Well, the nutrition might, but let me just speak to that, because I had somebody tell me like, oh my God, Chris, groceries are so expensive and everything else. Yes, I get it. But the things that you put into your body, this vessel, this is your machine right here. If you're not taking care of your machine, and I can attest to this, guess what? you're not going to get the positive results that you deserve in your life. So yes, you need to invest in your nutrition. You need to be putting proper things in your car, in your body, because let me tell you, if I gave you a Lamborghini tomorrow, you would say, Chris, I'd take that Lamborghini. You can't sell it, but what kind of gas are you going to put in that Lamborghini? What kind of fuel filter are you going to put in? You're going to put top of the line, or you're going to put some shit in there? You're going to go to get Arco gas in a Lamborghini? No. And the same thing applies to your body. Eat some fruits and vegetables every day. Eat some grains. Find out what your best food is. I found that I eliminated sugar, wheat, and gluten. Yes, not totally eliminated, but I cut it down to about 80%. I have a little bit here and there, especially when I cut out alcohol. I'm happy to say I haven't had a drink in 6 months. That cut down my inflammation. Guess what that did? That made me feel better. I started exercising more. I started feeling better. I started getting better sleep. I started feeling better. I started doing better. I started making proper decisions. I started taking care of myself. All of those things. I found out that I was vitamin D deficient, even though I get plenty of sunshine every single day. And I thought 10 minutes of sun, you're supposed to get your vitamin D, but I went and had my vitamins tested. If you've never had your vitamins tested, your vitamin deficiency, go do that. You could be deficient in magnesium. A lot of people don't have much magnesium in their body. They don't have potassium in their body. I could do a whole show just on supplements that will change your life. I have ADHD on crack. Guess what? When I quit sugar and I quit wheat and I quit gluten, guess what? My focus and my attention got better. It all lends upon itself to have those amazing relationships. So thank you. I'm going to grab some of these comments real quick, and then we'll get in the heart of it. But thank you for bringing that up, Nancy. I appreciate that. Because she says it right here. She goes, most important relationship with myself. So stop thinking that you're being selfish. And the other part about that investment component of it, and I can speak to this honestly, I have a friend of mine that stopped taking care of himself. And guess what? Started getting heart issues, started getting cholesterol. I'm getting all choked up. I just had something to eat. I just had some fruit actually before I did the show because I was starving. And guess what? Now he's on like 6 different medications. He feels bad, so he can't work out. And it's just like this spiral effect. I'm watching him disintegrate. I'm watching him take 10 to 15 years off of his life. He's obese now. He used to be in better shape than me because he said he couldn't have time. He didn't have time to prepare his meals, and he had all these excuses. But guess what? Can you afford to go to the doctor 7 times a month? Can you afford to be on 6 different medications and feel like shit? Can you afford to not be there for your friends and your family, especially your kids? You have to invest. You have to take proper care for yourself. I hired a health nutritionist, a health coach for a year. She took me to Trader Joe's and she showed me what to buy. Not everything in Trader Joe's, by the way, is healthy. I found out my little veggie sticks that I thought were all fucking healthy were dipped in a bunch of oil and had a bunch of cholesterol shit in it. And I can't remember what else in it. She's like, no, you can't have those. So I invested a lot of money to have that health coach. And guess what? Look at me today. You wouldn't think I'm 55, would you? No, I was about to say, I think I'm 75. So yes, you got to take care of yourself. That is massively important. We got Jock Brocus in here. He says, the biggest problem is we don't know what is disconnected. The craving for connection is what makes us people please, but we can't connect if we are not connected to whom you really are. Yes, we're going to be talking about that. Authenticity, being congruent to yourself, massively important. Again, that people pleaser in yourself, like stop doing that and take care of yourself. Nancy says, I took the entire day for me. That's awesome, Nancy. That's good. You got to do that. You got to have me time, man. You got to have me time. If you have people in your life telling you you're selfish, you need to wish those people well. And I could do a whole show on that as well. Nancy says, tells Ted, yes, take care of you 100%. Ted says, oh, Ted wrote a lot. Ted, I don't have my glasses on. My biggest relationship problem is I've been having with my stepsons. Both of them are going through suicidal thoughts. Oh, geez. And actually trying suicide, but they are 29 and 30. So once they are put in a program to try to help them, they check themselves out after 72 hours and repeat the same problem. And my wife wants to continue to let them live with us without helping the house out at all, or without trying to show them that they need help. Yeah, no, you wish those people well. They're old enough to know better. And unfortunately, sometimes you have to let people go find out the hard way. And yeah, it sucks because, ladies and gentlemen, most people don't change until they've hit rock bottom or even the further rock bottom. So yeah, I'm not going to sit here and talk about suicidal thoughts and ideation. I mean, those people need professional help, but sometimes you have to have that tough love in your life to be able to let them go if they're not willing to do the things that they need to do on there. Because a lot of people are crying wolf and they're crying all that shit because they get the attention, they get support, and they don't have to do anything for it. So you can't continue to placate them. That's my thoughts on that. Yes. Ted says here, I had to go through that program myself. So I know how good it is. Without it, I would have died. There you go. There's the testimonial right there. Jock says, yes, I will speak to that. As you know, choose to live or ignore and die. Your choice. 1,000%. If you guys aren't connected with Jock and Nancy and these people, you need to check them out. You need to connect with them. Nancy says here, rest for success. You guys are all verbose tonight. Thank you. Ted says here, but I don't think my wife and I are doing any good for them because we are just yep, 100%. 100%. I'm not going to continue reading the rest of it because I want to get into the heart of the show tonight. So one of the biggest things that I've learned in my life in relationships is this, and it was said by Stephen Covey in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you need to read. You should be reading a book a month. You should be really investing in yourself to learn more about yourself, more about your discombobulations, the people that you're living with. If they have ADHD, if they have depression, if they have whatever it might be, you should be investing your time and energy to be able to find out more about them. But when you seek first to understand and then be understood, that is one of the most critical things that I've learned in my life. I would have been like my mom. My mom was very direct. She was very sarcastic. She was very mean-spirited. She didn't give a fuck what she said or who she said it to. And in some respects, I admire that. But I knew that based on her actions and the way she had her relationships with her personal friends and her family and her professional friends, she was fired from every job. She was divorced. She was left by every guy that was ever in her life. She was a miserable person. So at the age of 17, 18 years old, I had to sit there and say, you know what, if I don't want to turn out like my mom, I need to find a way to have healthy and strong relationships. And how do I do that? It can't always be about me. I'm going to talk about a concept here in a second, but that seek first to understand, then to be understood. My mother never did that. My mother never did that. She was always, I have to be understood. So when you seek first to understand, and then you really are genuinely interested in that person, it's amazing what can happen, because what do we all want? We all want to be understood. I know for me, being misunderstood is one of the biggest things that irritates me and disappoints me and frustrates me and depresses me in my life, to have people think a certain way about me without knowing me, without finding out more information about why I said something or why I do something, because there might have been another meaning behind it. But most people make assumptions. And if you're making assumptions out there, ladies and gentlemen, that's one of the biggest things you could do out of this whole show, is stop making assumptions and seek first to understand, then to be understood. Because so many times I hear people, well, they should know, they should know, they should know, they should know. And my next question to them is, have you communicated that to them specifically and intentionally with them in person? It blows my mind that 80% of the people say no. Well, they should know. I've given them hints, or I've told them before. I'm like, how did you tell them before? Were you sarcastic? Did you sit down and say, hey, listen, I'd like to have a conversation with you, right? I'd like to share something with you that's really bothering me. And hopefully together we can figure out some sort of end result that will work for both of us. But I really need you to listen and understand. Can you do that for me? Well, I've done it before, blah, blah, blah. If they do that, then you need to stop the conversation and wait until they're in a receptive mode. That's another one of the tips. So I might jump around a little bit because they're all interconnected. So when you do that, seek first to understand and then to be understood, write that down, keep it on a sticky note in front of you. I'm a sticky note person. So if I need to remember something, and if I need to learn a lesson, I put a sticky note on my monitor. I put it on there every day, or I have it on there. And those are specific intentional things that I must take action on, that I must remind myself with. For a long time, I had a sticky note up there that says, what has happened and what is happening is preparing you for what's next. Because I was very frustrated at the results I was not seeing. But then I reminded myself that everything has happened in life in a perfect amount of time and where it should be. And so I want you guys to do that. If you're having relationship issues, put down a few notes that are from this broadcast tonight. And I promise you, as you continue to apply them, you're going to see people switch, and you're going to see some people get pissed off and go, who are you? And what do you think you're doing? And da, 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 da. And that's going to be a point where you're going to have to think about your values and your boundaries and your tolerations. I tolerate this person. How many people do you have in your life that you tolerate? That's a whole other conversation that we could talk about, but I'm going to stick to the show tonight. So seek first to understand, then to be understood. Number one. Number two, that kind of goes with this, happy or right. Ask yourself, do I want to be happy or do I want to be right? Again, going back to my mother, she always had to be right. She would go to the ends of the earth to prove that she was right. And guess what that did to everybody else? Made them feel like shit, made them defensive, feel like they were backed into a corner. Have you ever felt like you were backed into a corner because somebody had to be right? And you were like, okay, I know I'm right, but this person won't even listen to me. Right? Think about that. There's so many opportunities in your life to sit there and go, you know what? I could be right in this situation, but I'm going to choose to be happy, because sometimes you can win the battle and lose the fucking war. And that's a great cliche. I love that. So when you think about it, your wife is saying something, your husband's saying something, you know, client saying something, well, da, 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 da. Like, okay, am I really going to die on the hill for this? I can let that go because I'd rather be happy. Because when I'm right, what am I going to do? I'm going to put that person on the defensive. And what are they going to do? They're going to reach in their backpack and pull out anything they possibly can to get one back on you. And it becomes this fucking tennis match. Bap, bap, bap. Oh, one up and shit. Oh, yeah, well, you did this. And well, you did this and this and that and this and that. And it usually ultimately ends negatively. So I've found in my life, happy or right. I want to be happy, because most of the times, if I need to be right, then that's a whole other conversation. But I want to stick to some of these things that are going to really help you guys. And feel free to ask any questions. We got Jeff Wolf in the house. What's up, Jeff? I've known Jeff for a fucking decade. It's great to see you, Jeff. I appreciate you. I see you out there sharing your greatness. So thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Again, feel free to ask any questions. Another thing that I've found in my life, I found this out the hard way, but I found that there are 3 different types of human beings. And this is a generalization, but you can pretty much put people into these 3 categories. People are either visual, they're auditory, or they're kinesthetic. So let me just talk about this. I was very much a visual person. So I had to see things. If you were talking to me over a cubicle wall and you were telling me stuff, my brain would start to scramble because I see things in pictures. And so in order for me to have a healthy conversation with somebody who is perhaps an auditory person, we need to see things. And so by virtue of my boss, she sent us to this thing called marriage counseling that we joked around about. And I found out about these 3 types of people: auditory, kinesthetic, and visual. The 3 of us there were these 3 different types of people, and we were the only ones that were having issues with each other. And once we realized, oh, David is kinesthetic. Kinesthetic people need to process it. They need to feel it. They need to touch it. They need to, okay, yeah, okay, maybe, yeah, okay. Let me think about that. I need to chew on that for a second. Me being an auditory person originally, I would sit there and be like, okay, why can't you get this? What's going on? Let's make this happen. Let's, and I would be pushy, and I would be like not thinking and understanding, like, what the fuck is wrong with this person? Do they have brain damage? Like, it's pretty simple. Let's go. And like, no, they're kinesthetic people. That's the way they're wired. And so if I know that you're a kinesthetic person, I can go in and I can set the expectation for myself. Listen, this conversation is not going to have a net result of an answer right away. This person is going to need to think about it. I need to give them as much possible information. I need to give them some time. How much time are you going to need to process this, Ted? Okay, I'm going to need a few days. Great, no problem. Take your time. Feel free to ask me any questions. Or normally I'm like, why do you need 3 days? It's pretty simple. What can't you see? And that places that person in a defensive. Same thing with the visual and the auditory. One of my coworkers, she was at that point I was auditory and she was visual. And so I would say to her, can you go check on this, blah, blah, blah. And she'd go, I don't understand what you're talking about, Christopher, blah, 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 blah. You're not making any sense. And I'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with this person? But after this marriage counseling situation, I'm like, oh, she's a visual person. So, and you can tell visual people because their desks are usually messy. You can find that they're very visual because they need all these cues to remind themselves what to do. Auditory people tend to be less messy. They tend to have more cleaner desks because they don't need the visual reminders of what it is that they're doing. So that's super important. So once the 3 of us learned this about each other, we were able to see and be able to deliver the information in such a way for that person to understand it. Guess what? The bickering, the arguing, the defensiveness, the accusations, the assumptions, everything stopped. And we realized we were all on the same page trying to do the same fucking thing, but we just process information differently. There's a bunch of other different ways that you can process information differently too. So if this inspires you, go Google it. Learn more about kinesthetic people. Oh, wow, I didn't realize my son's kinesthetic. Oh my God, I didn't realize my best friend's kinesthetic. Okay, now I understand why I can take more time and processing and all of this stuff. If somebody's visual, then I know that I need to come in with bars and graphs and charts, and I need to give them reports. My boss, I thought, was a visual person. I made an assumption. Guess what? He's not. He wants the bottom line. He wants a summary at the report. He wants to know the net result. And then if he wants to look at the details, he has the details as backup. When I learned that, holy shit, he didn't lose a bolt every time I walked in and was like, blah, blah, blah. Here's this and here's this. And again, those relationships, especially with your clients and your customers and the people that you have challenges with, learn what type of personality they are. Even ask them like, hey, how do you usually process information? Do you like to see things and feel things? I know for a perfect example is sometimes people need to see a map and they need to see the left turns and the right turns, and they need to see exactly how they're going to get there. I'm now that person. I've shifted. So if somebody gives me directions that are written out in sentences, it doesn't work for me. I mean, I can do it, but if I could see, okay, I'm going to go to the end of that street and I'm going to make a left, I'm going to make a right, it's so much easier for me, for myself. Do you guys have that same situation in your life? Feel free to share that in the comments and let me know how that works for you. So again, auditory, kinesthetic, and visual, they are great ways to sit there and think about what it is that you can do in your life. Let's see what else we got. Oh, here's a big one. Body language. 75, depending on what studies you look at, 75% of our communication is body language. And I learned the hard way that I had resting dick face. I had resting, I don't give a shit face. And I didn't realize this before I had these beautiful teeth that I have now. I used to have fangs. These things are like fangs and they stuck out. I never smiled, but I was always a happy person. I was always a positive person. You guys know me by now. And I was like, yeah. But if I was sitting there looking at you, I'd be like this. And people are like, what's wrong, Chris? You look pissed off. I had so many people telling me, I'm like, I'm not pissed off. I'm fucking happy. How do I? And it wasn't until I really sat and looked in them. Actually, it wasn't really until I did this podcast, when I started doing video podcasts and I started looking at myself, listening to the person. I'm like, oh my God, I look like I care fucking less. My body language is, but I was caring. I know I was watching and listening, but my body language is saying something different. And we've seen those people, oh, they look shut off. Or one of the great examples is the fact that, like, I used to be able to do this. I could be sending an email and be like, oh yeah, changing the station and listening to you. I could do it all at the same time. But what is my body language saying? I'm not making you a priority. So when you're having conversations with people, ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, look at them in the eye. Make eye contact. The connection to the soul is through the eyes. Make eye contact, lean forward, show you're interested, have open body language. If you're sitting there like this, like, yeah, are you done? Yeah. Okay. I'm looking at my watch. I'm looking at my phone, blah, blah, blah. I could care less about what you're saying. The simple act of just saying, let me put this phone down right now. I want to make sure I pay attention to what you're saying because I know what you're saying is important. I want to give you my full attention. Say that. Let that person know that they're not competing with everything else in your life for your thoughts and your ideas. Even more important than that, if you're in a place where you're not receptive or you feel like you're spun out of control in that particular moment, which I get sometimes, I will tell my wife, she wants to have a serious conversation. I will sit there, and this is a great piece of advice as well. I will say, you know what? Now's not the time. My brain is scrambled right now. Let me get a good night's rest. Let's talk about it tomorrow when I'm refreshed. Is that okay? Does that work for you? Don't try to have conversations when you know you don't feel great. Don't have conversations when you're burned out and you're tired, because guess what? Chances are you're going to react instead of respond. That's another tip. React versus respond. Write that down. Do you react a lot of situations? Are you volatile? Are you a Scorpio or a Leo? Whatever the fuck. Stop using that as an excuse. I'm a Leo. I do these. No, you're not. You can sit there and hit the pause button and go, you know what? I'm about to be a bitch. Don't do that. You know what? Hey, right now I'm not in the best of moods, and I can tell this is a really serious conversation. So I'd like to make sure I give you the best possible version of myself. So can we do this at a later time? You do that in business. You do that professionally, personally. Guess what? It lets the person know that you care. It lets the person you know that you care. Know, like, and trust. Know, like, and trust. When people know, like, and trust you, it's pretty incredible what you can get and what you can give in life. And when you know, like, and trust somebody else, when you feel that connection, guess what? You want to go above and beyond. You want to exceed their expectations, because guess what, ladies and gentlemen, it's about that. Here's a task for you guys to do. I'd love for you guys all to do this and then come back and report to me. Here's a coaching assignment for you guys. I didn't even give this in the coaching group last night. So the people in my coaching group that are watching this right now, here's another one to add to the list. Sit down with your partner. Sit down with your partner, whoever might be in your life, and say, I'd like to know the top 5 expectations you have for me. What are the top 5 expectations for you? I did this with my wife years ago. We went out to dinner. I did it in neutral territory. That's another thing I highly suggest is you're going to have a challenging conversation. Do it in neutral territory. Go out to dinner, go to a park, go to the beach, go for a walk, go for a bike ride, go do something where you're not in the house, not where there's all sorts of things that can distract you or things that can trigger you or memories that can do that. Go out to a place. And I sat there and I asked my wife, I said, what are your biggest expectations for me? And guess what I found out? There was 3 or 4 expectations that I did not realize she had for me. And one of them wasn't even realistic. So I had the opportunity to say, okay, can you give me some examples of how I can do that and how I can do that without, burning myself out or because it's not innately who I am. And so we had these conversations and she goes, you know what? I can let that one go. I won't have that expectation for you anymore. And it was kind of ridiculous on my side, but on her side, it was very important. So once we had that conversation, we realized, okay, I'm not going to expect that from you. That's just not the type of person that you are. And I'm like, I'm not. And then, so guess what? No more expectation, no more disappointment, no more frustration, no more, what do they call it? Passive aggressive behavior. We could do a whole show on that. So when you seek first to understand and you apply these principles and you sit there and say, hey, is now the right time? And then you realize and you talk about those expectations, then you can sit there and set a follow-up plan. Okay, how am I doing on the expectations? What are the measurables on that? What would that look like for you? My wife told me, she goes, I expect you when I come home from a trip to have a glass of wine and a glass of wine and a hot bath waiting for me. You fucking pour your own wine, get your own glass. Guess what I did the next time she was coming home? I said, hey, text me when you're 15 minutes out. And she said, why? And I said, just do it. And so she came in the driveway. I was at the front window waiting for her. Yes, I was waiting for her. Walked out there with a glass of wine. I said, I got a bath ready for you. Do you know how long that happiness lasted? Something on my tongue. That that piece of fruit. That lasted a long time. Yes, you have to go out of your way. Yes, you have to get out of your comfort zone. Yes, you have to do some things that you may not necessarily think are important. But if it's important for that person, you build that connection, you build that know, like, and trust, and you build up what I call points in your system that eventually lend themselves to when you screw up, they sit there and go, you know what? He's been doing so great. I'm not even going to make this an important issue. I'm going to choose to be happy instead of right. Other people have done that. My wife has told me that. She goes, there was a couple of things that you did that irritated me, but you've done so many other things that have been beautiful. And you've really made that extra effort to understand me and to meet my expectations and exceed my expectations. So that alone, especially with your clients and your customers, right? Let's talk business. What are your expectations for the performance of my company? What do you really want to get out of this coaching opportunity? What do you really want to get out of this? And then understand that person's expectations, write them down, and then make sure you're checking yourself against that every once in a while, because you can't just sit there and think, oh, I got it once and make it happen. Write it down on a sticky note. Make sure you're visiting that regularly. Have regular meetings with your spouse or your partner. I do that about once a quarter. Hey, babe, how's everything going? How am I doing? Have I improved on this? Have I improved on that? And most of all, that can't be a one-way street. Again, going back to the people-pleasing aspect of it, you can't just give, and give. And that was one of the situations that I had with her, where I went and I met with her and we talked about expectations. And then I thought she was going to say, well, now let me ask you your expectations. And so the second time we did this, and I said, the last time you didn't ask me about my expectations, I let it ride. I said, but how come you're not asking me about what my expectations are? And I mean, I'm not going to talk bad about her. She can watch the show, but she said, well, I know what you expect from me. You expect this, 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 and this. And most of it was wrong. And most of it was kind of like not mean, but it was condescending towards herself. And I said, no, that's not what I expect. No, that's not it at all. Here are the things that I expect. And then she was like, oh, I didn't know that. I'm like, yeah, because you didn't ask, right? Stop making those assumptions, ladies and gentlemen. It's pretty incredible when you start being intentional. You start actually following through on the things that you say you're going to do. You build up those know, like, and trust credits. And it's pretty incredible what can happen. Trust me, I did it for so long, and it's pretty incredible what can happen. What does Nancy say here? She goes, how does faith help us allow to let others solve their own issues? That's a good one, Nancy. Let me think about that. How does faith help us allow to let others solve their own issues? I think it's all about questions for me. So I have to sit there and think, you know what? If somebody, one of the biggest things I tell people is, like, if you have a situation or a problem and everybody can do this, like if I ask you how to do that, you would probably come up with an answer. So I tell people to ask themselves, okay, if somebody came and asked me that same question, what advice would I have for them? Right? How many times are we at a loss for words when somebody asks us for advice? We always come up with something. Oh, please ask me a question because I'd like to show you how smart I am. I'd like to help you. Right? So we always come up with an idea. So I would ask them back, right? I would say, what do you think are the top 3 things that you can implement in your life to solve this issue on your own? Well, I guess I could probably do this, and I guess I could do this, and I could do this. Or if I came to you and asked that question, what type of answers do you think you could come up with? So it's about spinning that responsibility back on them, especially if they've come to you for advice tons of times and they haven't implemented it. Ask them that question. Or sometimes I've been sneaky. If I know that my friend or my partner or somebody else is dealing with something, I will come to them and I'll say, oh my God, I got a situation today. My friend asked me this question. I just didn't really know what to tell them. I'm like, oh, well, what is it? And I will reframe their own problems in a different way, and they will answer. And I'm like, okay. I said, then I'll sit there and say, that's really good. Wouldn't that apply to the thing that you're dealing with? Oh, yeah, I guess I never thought of it that way. Because we're always projecting. We're always thinking outside of ourselves. We're always thinking about our ego sometimes, and we're always wanting that validation, when sometimes all we need to do is just pull the accountability mirror up to our face and go, let me ask you that. So I think hopefully that answers your question, Nancy. Let me know if it does. But I think it's also the faith that sometimes we have to have that tough love. Like I was telling Ted earlier, we can't continue to be that sole responsibility, that person of bearer to keep solving other people's problems. Like sometimes people come to me and they have never paid me for coaching. They'll ask me the same question 7 times. I'm like, I just can't answer that for you anymore. You need to answer that question for yourself. By the way, there's this thing called Google. By the way, there's this thing called ChatGPT, right? How can I learn more about this stuff? And now here, let me give you another piece of advice. and I think I kind of said it before, but I want to be more intentional and specific with this. If you know somebody struggles with something or you struggle with something, go out there and do your research. Buy books, right? The book, The 5 Love Languages. I didn't understand where my wife was coming from at one point. And so somebody said, have you read the book, The 5 Love Languages? And I'm like, no. And so I bought it for her and I. And I said, you know what would be a great opportunity for us both is let's read this and then let's think about what each other's major love language is and let's see if we're right. Let's make this into a game. Let's make this fun. And as begrudgingly as she didn't want to do it because she doesn't really like to read, she did it. And then we came to the table and I said, I think you are a person that needs to be shown love and affection and shown material things. I can't remember exactly how it was worded in the book. And we both got each other's love language wrong. After being together, I think at that point, like 10 or 11 years, we've been together now 22 years, 10 or 11 years. It was right about that point. Somebody had suggested that we got our love languages wrong because we read. And guess what? Then we could be specifically intentional to meet that love language. Okay, you want to hear words of affirmation. Okay, you want to be shown love and affection and touching and feeling and all that stuff. Okay, I'm not innately that type of person, so I had to work at it. So guess what I did? How to be a more affectionate person. I didn't grow up with the love and affection in my life, so I had to learn how to become that person for her. So read the book, The 5 Love Languages. Another book that I read that was instrumental in me not being frustrated and disappointed with my wife was Dr. Gabor Mate. He's an amazing author. He does a lot of different books. He's got the drama, the drama, The Gifted Child. I have like 7 of his books or something like that. But one of the books that I bought after I found out my wife was diagnosed with ADHD also, there's different types of ADHD. I did not know this. There's inattentive ADHD. So my wife, God bless her soul, she doesn't put things back, right? So you could see where she's gone. Me, I'm somewhat of a neat freak. I like to put things away. I will be very meticulous when I'm making a sandwich. I'll put everything away. I'll wipe the counter down. You don't even know I was there. Her, you see the knife and the fork are still out on the table. The mustard's still out. The bread's over here. And she means to go back and to put that away, but she doesn't. And so I'm sitting there saying, oh my God, why does she keep doing this to me? She knows I'm like frustrated, blah, blah, blah. Read the book, ADHD in Marriage. Oh my God, inattentive ADHD is this. They're not doing it on purpose. That's just how they are until they're aware of it. Hey, you know what? This really bugs me. And if it would be so great if maybe 50% of the time, you could just remember to clean up and go back and tidy that up. Because for me, visual mess makes my mind go crazy. And so I showed her how that happens. Like, you know, visual messes can cause somebody's mind to feel closed in. I can't remember all the details about it. But again, reading that book helped me understand her and made me realize it wasn't intentional. It wasn't anything against me. It was just the way she operates. Vice versa. I know it's not vice versa, but I like to say it because that's the way they say it in the cartoon. She could understand me better. Like because I start things and I don't finish them. It's like start. When are you going to fix the screen door? I thought you said you were going to seed the lawn. I thought you were going to do this. I thought you're going to do this. So literally now what I have to do is I have a dry erase board in the center hallway downstairs with all my projects on it. So every time I walk by it, I'm like, oh shit, I got to do that. I better get that done. I got to fix the kitchen drawer. I only took me a couple of days to fix the kitchen drawer. She was like, oh my God, it's already fixed. Yeah, because I was specifically intentional about it because I learned about that. What was the other book I was going to tell you guys about? I think there was another one. Are you guys getting value out of this? Let me know. There was another book I was going to tell you about. I don't know where it went. That's strange. I made some notes about this, but it doesn't matter. So 5 Love Languages, ADHD book. Go out there and understand people. It's pretty incredible what it is you can do. So let me know, Nancy, if that answered your question. Jock says here, I have an unwritten rule. Well, you should write it down. If someone comes to me for a private appointment, I only see them max 3 times. And if they are not learning, I will not continue to sit with them. So that's why you don't meet with me anymore, Jock. No, that's great. That's great. And that kind of leads, let's talk about that for a second. Oh my God, it's already been 40 minutes. I want to get to some of these questions too. I could talk about this for another 3 hours. Literally, I used to do a half-day workshop on relationships and communication. So let me know if you're getting the value out of this. But again, here's an exercise for you. Tolerations. This is one of my biggest exercises that people are finding so much value in. So many times we don't have those boundaries and we don't have those tolerations like Jock just said. You have to have that. And you have to start with your personal values. Like, what are your top 5 values? If I ask you that question right now, do you know them off the top of your head? Know your 5 values. If you don't know what they are, write them down and play with them. Put them on a sticky note in front of you every single day. Like, are those really my top 5 values? Okay. Honesty is a top value, right? Mutual respect is a thing. Authenticity is a value, right? So whatever it is for you, have those values and have those boundaries. And if people continue to go outside those boundaries, you need to stop it. Right? It's going back to that self-love and that self-preservation for yourself, because so oftentimes we're going to sit there and take it for granted that we can handle it. We're not doing that person any good. We're not doing that good. We're definitely not doing ourselves any good. And so here's what I want you to do, guys. This is a great exercise for not only relationships or anything else, but write down on a piece of paper. Yes, you got to write it down. Write down what you're tolerating from yourself. Write down what you're tolerating from inanimate objects, and write down what you're tolerating from other people. And I guarantee you the first week you do it, you're going to come up with 3 or 4 things out of different areas. And then you're going to think, oh, wow, that's not very much. But I promise you're tolerating a hell of a lot more than you'll ever give yourself credit for. So you need to be able to go back and sit there and say, okay, I'm going to carry this around with me. I tolerate the fact that my ignition sticks. I tolerate the fact the light switch doesn't work. I tolerate that I have to do this with the dishwasher. I tolerate the fact that my kids don't help clean up. I tolerate the fact that my husband constantly leaves a mess. I tolerate the fact that my coworker comes in and bends my ear for 3 hours and wastes my time. I tolerate the fact that I don't keep my promises to myself. Write it all down. And then here's the bonus part. Look at it and say, wow, if I didn't tolerate 1/3 of these things, how much more time would I have? How much more peace would I have? How much more opportunity to be a better parent, a better lover, a better friend would I have? Right? Because we're so consumed with the things that we're tolerating that we don't realize it, and we get buried down. And it's like one little thing. And guess what? What is that? The phrase, the straw that broke the camel's back? The straw didn't break the camel's back. All the other shit broke the camel's back. That straw was just the last thing. And so I implore you, do not get to the point where that's your last thing, because that's your responsibility. And if you sit there and say, these people did this to me, fuck off. You're wrong. You allowed it. You're allowing it right now. If your kids are old enough to do their own laundry, or to bring the laundry down, or to sort the laundry, or to put the laundry away, then you need to fucking stand up and say, listen, I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. You need to put your laundry away. If you don't put your laundry away, I'm just going to put it in your room and you can figure it out for yourself. You got to hold people accountable. You got to hold people responsible. You have to make sure that they understand the expectation. You're building the future for these kids. And it blows my mind that kids are living at home at 25 years old and their mommy's still doing their laundry. Their mommy's still buying their groceries for them. Their mommy's still figuring out their shit. Stop it. Stop it. Because if you die tomorrow, what's that kid going to do? What's your husband going to do? I've had so many coaching clients tell me, oh my God, Chris, I would love to have more time, but I just don't. I'm like, okay, tell me about your family situation. How many people are in the house? Well, I've got a husband and 2 kids. Okay. Who does the laundry? Me. Who does the cooking? Me. Who does the shopping? Me. Who does the cleaning? Me. Okay. Is there any physical disabilities in your house? Any mental disabilities, or any reason why nobody else can help you do these things? Oh, Chris, I've tried. Really? Well, guess what? We're going to fucking really do it. We're not going to try. We're going to really fucking do it. You're going to have a family meeting or to say, hey, listen, mom's burned out. Mom's tired. Mom wants to focus on some things for herself. So guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Twice a week, you're going to make your own sandwiches. Twice a week, you're going to put your own laundry. Whatever it might be, you start putting parameters into place to say, I'm not going to tolerate anymore. Guess what? If mom died and got hit by the proverbial bus tomorrow, what would you guys do? Would you not have sandwiches and lunch to take to work? Would you not have clean clothes anymore? Would you not have groceries in the refrigerator? Would you not have a clean house? What would go on? I guess they would figure it out. I guess they would have to. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. You're going to have this meeting with them and you're going to lay down the law and ask them for their support. Because guess what, guys? The stuff you're tolerating from people, most of the time when you bring that up to them and say, listen, I'm not going to tolerate it anymore. I've done this for a long time. It's burning me out. I really need your help. Can I count on you for some help? Can I count on you for some support? Is that reasonable? Here's a great phrase. Is that reasonable? I've never had any single person ever argue with that phrase in negotiations with clients, anything. Is that reasonable? Yes or no? Well, yeah, it's reasonable. Okay. What do you think are a couple of things that you can do on your part to make that a little bit better for me? And let them be responsible for the answers. Chances are they might come up with more things than you actually had in your brain. Oh my God, if they just made their lunch every day, that would be so great. Well, I guess maybe I can help you out with the laundry. You know what? I guess I could sweep and mop every week. Okay, great. Let's put that on the board. Let's put some responsibilities up there. And then as a family, as we achieve those goals together, let's celebrate. Let's celebrate, right? Recognize, reward, success, acknowledge. Hey, thank you so much for doing the laundry. Oh my God, that's been such a big help. I've been able to focus on writing the book I've always wanted to write. I've been able to do these things. You got to speak your mind, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't, you're sitting there in quiet desperation. The only person you're hurting is yourself. And actually, you're probably hurting the other individuals because God forbid, if you're not there tomorrow, do you want your family to be set up? Do you want them to be strong? Do you want your kids to be strong and independent? You got to stop that shit right now. And that may build and strengthen the relationship, depending on who it is, or that may break that relationship down. And if it's going to break down, it's going to break down whether it's now or later. But guess what? You want to avoid breaking down is you. Like we said before, like Nancy said, she had a self-care day. That is massively important. I went to the beach last Sunday. I told my wife and my kid, I said, I'm leaving. Normally I'm around my kid and my wife, and I'm like, I'm going to be here. Family time's the most important to me. I said, I need beach time. I need me time. And I fucking put my bike in the truck and I put my chair in the truck. And I said, I will see you guys when I get back. And I went down, had a beautiful ride, got sunburned, sat in the back of my truck and listened to music. And I watched people and I thought, and I watched the ocean. And guess what? I came back a new person. I came back rested and fulfilled and feeling just better about myself. And guess what? That night we had a great time. We played board games. We laughed, watched a movie. We had a great dinner. Chris refilled his own bucket. Stop trying to fill everybody else's bucket, ladies and gentlemen, trying to look for that validation, that acceptance. It has to come from within. It has to come from within. Holy shit, we've been going 45 minutes. I got Brian Keith in the house. What's up? He says, absolutely. What's up, Brian? I thank you for being here, my brother. We need a catch-up call pretty quick. I thought I saw something else in here as well. Oh, Brian said, Brian has here. Let me see what Brian's got to say. Brian says, I am a person of faith, and my own struggles through personal life has put up a wall. I am trying to figure out my own life from personal life situations and struggles. Christopher Rausch knows a lot, but not all, and has been there as a true friend, even in my silence and not communicating with him or anyone. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. I am healing and going through a lot of change in my life. I need for me, geez, I need glasses for me, but faith has also been a biggest and strongest part of me that has kept me here. And now I have held on in my darkest time. Thank you, Brian, for sharing that, brother. I thank you. We definitely need a catch-up call, and I'm always here for you. You know that. I can't constantly bother you. I don't want to be intrusive, but I'm always here for you as a brother. So thank you for sharing that, man, and thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Nancy says here, your exercises are so valuable. Thank you. There's so much more. There's so much more of that. Nancy says here, it's all on me. Accountability is excellence, 100%. Nancy, thank you for being here. She says, try with oomph is triumph. Oh yeah. Try. Let me say that again. Try with oomph is triumph. Great band too. Yeah. Triumph. Canadian band, right? Yeah. Rick Emmett was the lead guitarist, I think. Don't get me started on music. Jock says here, he says, we came from darkest to light. Sometimes we have to go to the dark place to find the light again. So true. I have a thing right behind me that says when the darkness happens, that's when lights shine their brightest. Something like that. It's actually right behind me on a postcard. He says, it's always there. Sometimes we get blind to it. Darkness has something to teach us to see the light and experience it again. True growth. 1,000%. 1,000%. I mean, that's why I was just telling somebody before I started this show, they were seeking me out for some advice. And I reminded them of the same advice I've been telling myself, that everything that's happened and everything that is happening is all these things lend to himself, all these things piece together. And guess what? In 6 months to a year, your life will start to be really different. And you start building that inertia. You start building that momentum. I haven't had a drink in 6 months. I feel great. I have a lot more energy. As you could tell, I'm a lot clear headed. You notice through this broadcast, Normally I have this problem where I'll say something and I'll fucking forget where I was saying, and then I'll go off in another tangent, then I'll connect it all together. I haven't had those problems because I quit drinking. Now I have less cholesterol in my system. I feel better. I'm sleeping better. All those different things. You have to make those decisions for yourself. Brian says here, absolutely love you, brother. Thank you. You got Lee Height in the house. Oh my God. Thank you, brother. I miss you. He says it takes light to make a shadow. Shadows will always point us back to the light. 100%. If you're not connected with Lee, you need to check him out. Nancy says music is love. Blah, 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 blah. Jock says, dude, long time no speak. I think he's referencing to Lee. And by the way, we need to have a men's mental health roundtable again. So perhaps we can get you in there, Brian, as well. It's something that I used to do periodically, but I'm going to start doing it once a month. So Brian, if you're interested in doing that, we do a men's mental health roundtable and we talk about shit and we help the world via the Raw and Unscripted show. We do it as a special edition. So let me know if you want to do that. I need to get Jock and Lee in there as well, and Walt. And I've got a list of guys that we're going to be doing that. So stay tuned for that. If you're interested, DM me and let me know that you guys want to do that. Nancy says, join the group. Your life will transform. You're so awesome. Lee says, let's do that real soon. Jock Brocus. Yes. So it's been 50 minutes. I have so many more tips, but I'm going to stop for a second. There's people that sent me questions and I think I answer most of the questions, but I just want to go through them because people specifically sent them to me. So number one is, how can I improve in communication with my partner? Again, seek first to understand. Here's another thing that I failed to mention earlier. This is huge also. Paraphrase. So when somebody says something to you, say, honey, here's what I heard you say. And then say it back to them in your own words. That is golden. Golden in your personal relationships, professional relationships. I can't tell you how many relationships at work that I had that were challenging, but when I just shut up and I used the 2 ears and I kept the mouth closed and I said, so what I'm hearing you say, Mark, is that you're having challenges with your sales orders, that you feel that it's the distribution guys that aren't doing those things that's causing you not to lose face with your customers. Is that about right? Yes, Chris, that's exactly what I'm saying. Okay, great. Awesome. What are a couple of things that you think we could do that's within our power and our price range that we can help you with that, right? When you sit there and you paraphrase back to somebody, we all want to be heard. Again, going back to that seek first to understand, paraphrasing back to somebody, those few things alone will change the trajectory of your life. Stop making assumptions and sit there and say, you know what? So here's what I hear you saying. Stop making it about you. Make it about them. Make sure, does that make you feel better? Does that instill a little bit more trust and confidence in yourself? You're no longer making assumptions about them and they're going to feel like, wow, this person really cares. Right? Lean forward, mirror their body language. There's so many different tips that we can give you. So yes, how can you improve communication with your partner? Listen and be very intentional and paraphrase back to them. Number two, what can I do to build trust in my relationship? Keep your fucking word. Be intentional. Be clear on your expectations and know the expectations of others. Build trust in your relationship. Do the things that you're going to say you're going to do, right? Build that confidence. Number three, how do I navigate conflicts and disagreements with my partner? That is a great thing. Again, going back to seek first to understand. Number one, paraphrase back to the person that what you understood. And number three, work on a plan together that sits there and say, okay, how about we try this for the next 3 months? What do you say we try these 3 things over the next 3 months and let's see where we're at in that. Does that sound reasonable? Does that sound fair? Yeah. Okay, great. Let's do this. Okay. What are some things that are most important to you? And then listen, okay, so what I understand from this conversation is if I do these 3 things, then you're going to feel a little bit more loved and appreciated, and you're going to feel a little bit more respected, and we're not going to have as many disagreements. Is that accurate? Is that fair to say? 100%. Okay, great. Let's do this. What are healthy boundaries in a relationship? How do I set them? We talked about that. And that communication, knowing what it is that for yourself you truly need, and not be afraid to say that. I had somebody send me the question about intimacy and stuff like that. I don't think that's necessarily appropriate here, but if you're not having those boundaries and you're not communicating your needs and your wants and being honest with yourself, it's not that person's problem. It's not their fault for not doing it. Right? You have to be honest and communicative to them. My wife has to tell me certain things. I'm like, you need to spell it out for me. I may be the smartest fucking person on the planet. I may see the things that nobody else sees, but guess what? I will admit I missed the shit right in front of me. And that's the God's honest truth. I will miss the most blatant, apparent thing in my life because I see all the other things that nobody else sees. And that's my gift and my curse. So now I sit there and say, you need to tell that to me explicitly so I understand. And you have to make sure I understand. Okay. Do we got that? Is that fair? Yes. Oh yeah. And then, one of the other questions was, how do I balance relationship with other aspects of my life, like work and hobbies? Again, knowing what your parameters are, making sure you have time for me. I need a beach day once a month. I need to read a book once a week. I need support, whatever it might be. You need to communicate that and be honest with yourself. And if your family doesn't support you in that, then you need to sit there and ask yourself, are you in the right place? And I could tell you this with God's honest truth. I've had to wish best friends well. I've had to wish my sister well. I've had to, cut off communication with some people in my life because they were just toxic and they were draining me. They would come to me and I would be like, okay, I can help you. I can help you. I can help you. I can save this person. I can help this person. I know I can get through to them. No, you can't, Chris. No, you can't. And that's one thing with my sister, my blood related relative in 2005. I had to wish her well when all I ever wanted was my family to get back together. And I only had my mom and my sister. I never knew my biological dad. And so all I ever wanted us to be a family, like okay, can we actually get along and love each other and be there for each other like a real family is? No, we can't. Apparently not. Bye, sister. I wish you all the best. I hope you have a great life, but please don't ever contact me again. Yeah. Was that mean? I don't think so. I drew my boundaries, and that's what I needed to do, because otherwise I was going to continue to be crazy and expecting different results. And that's just insanity. So stop doing that. All right. So there you have it. I'm not gonna go over an hour. So thank you guys for being here. What is Nancy saying? She goes, what is the value of an accountability partner? Fuck. You tell me, Nancy. When people hold you accountable, I mean, I know for me, when I have Jock and I have Lee and I have Walt and I have all these different people holding me accountable, like Chris, you said your book was going to be out. Where's your fucking book? What are the next 3 things you need to do, Chris, in order to get that book done? Okay, I need to get an editor. Okay, now I'm securing an editor this week, because I know I told you guys my book was going to be out last year. It's a long fucking story. So hold me accountable, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to reach out to me next month and go, Chris, did you get that editor? Right? When you have people that care about you, they're going to check in on you and say, hey, you said your book was going to be done. What's going on? So the value of accountability partner is amazing, because let me ask you this. Let me think how I got to say this. Are you honest with your best friend? And I asked this question. I've asked this question on social media a couple of times, and so many people come back and say, not completely. I'm like, okay, if they're your best friend, you should be able to be honest with them. And they say, do I look fat in these jeans? Yeah, you kind of do. You know what? Let's go for a walk. Hey, let's stop eating sugar together. Hey, let's challenge each other. Let's do 75 hard for the next 75 days. Oh, I can never do that. Well, yes, you can. You just have to take it one day at a time. Yes, is it hard and it's challenging, but on the other side of the 75 days, you're going to fucking feel amazing. If you don't know what 75 hard is, go Google that shit and go do it, because I've done it 3 times, ladies and gentlemen. You want to talk about how to learn accountability, personal accountability, and personal responsibility and personal integrity? Do 75 hard. Do hashtag 75 hard. So I hope that helps. I love you guys. We're gonna be back again next week, Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Join us on the live broadcast if you've been listening to the podcast in any one of the other 20 plus countries that we're in. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting it. Again, like I said before at the top of the show, if you were at all interested, check out my group coaching program. It is right there on the screen. It is in the notes. You can go to noexcusescoach.com/group-accountability-coaching. If you don't know what that is, just hashtag no excuses coach. Go to my website, go to group coaching. You'll see it all there. It's an insane opportunity for you to get in and have accountability in your life. You know, guys, I'm not a big salesperson. So there it is. There's the offer. And I will see you here next time on the Raw and Unscripted show. So your homework, should you so choose to do it, is sit down and have a meeting about expectations. Write down what you're tolerating from yourself, from inanimate objects, and from other people. And I can't remember what the other one is, but go back. And if you started the show halfway through, go back to the beginning. I did my very best to give you as much value as I could in this possible solo show. So please let me know what I could do for you. Reach out to me, DM me on any various socials, send me an email at christopher@christopherrausch.com. And I will see you guys here next week on the Raw and Unscripted show. I love and appreciate every one of you guys. Stay true to yourself, stay authentic to yourself. Keep the right people in your life, go for your dreams, and never give up. All right. I love you guys. Peace. Cheers.